What is good, YouTube? Quinway basketball analysis coming to y'all with some quick analysis. We're going to talk about the big news of today, which is Lamarcus Aldridge and the Spurs mutually agreeing to go in a different direction, which I think is fair because when you look at the Spurs, they had so many games postponed and they was able to compete while also being able to win enough to be in a playoff spot right now. The majority of the people had the San Antonio Spurs missing the playoffs, including myself. And I feel like this should have probably happened last year. They ran this team as far as they could take them, and they ultimately came up short and missed the playoffs. And I thought that losing DeMar and LaMarcus was the smart thing to do to come into this year because you have so many young guards on this team and you have so many young players that deserve an opportunity. I know it's frustrating. I know it's not fun losing and it's frustrating seeing young players make mistakes. But what is LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan really going to do this year? Like being on this team, I don't really see what they're going to accomplish. Like they both wasn't all stars. They're both not dominant at this point, and there can be great assets to other teams that can either get them over the hump or be a great piece for their team. And I understand when you have both of them together, it's great, but it's not elite. It's not an amazing duo. You know, if you have Kawhi and LaMarcus, it was better. But DeMar, we all knew he was a downgrade to Kawhi, and this team had a ceiling with DeMar and LaMarcus as their duo. You know, Kawhi and LaMarcus went to the Western Conference Finals. This team hasn't even been to the second round with this duo. And to me, it was a matter of time before you had to split it up. And LaMarcus' contract isn't terrible. It isn't this untradeable contract that nobody wants. He hasn't really played at the level that he would hope, but also he's just in another role and doing things differently compared to the other seasons, and he is getting older. I do think that he is a little bit better than Blake Griffin at this point. If I had to pick the one or the other, it'd definitely be LaMarcus at this point in his career. He can still play some center if he wants to, and it depends on what lineup and team he goes to. I don't want to do a top five team that LaMarcus Aldridge should get traded to because I don't really see a team giving up significant assets for a guy that's going to leave or be around for just one season. And if the Spurs do want to get rid of him through trade, they're going to want something small like a first rounder late or probably a young piece that they can see and tinker with now and in the future. But ultimately, I don't really see too many teams being buyers on LaMarcus right now just because he's not an elite level defender and he's not an elite level 3-point shooter at his position. And those type of guys are really fill-in guys at this point of their career, and that's why it does matter where he goes because his role in his game is, built. This is who LaMarcus is, and this is what he always been. And you have to be able to take him and have the right assets around you already to be able to function. And he hasn't changed, and you have to accept what guy you're getting. And to me, it's just interesting to see, as the season has went on and as the Spurs continue to play throughout this season, they have been a team that a lot of people haven't been talking about. A lot of teams and people haven't been respecting or really caring too much about their success that they have had. And it's crazy that they are in the playoff spot currently. We'll see what happens after tonight. And they're thinking about going separate ways with a guy like LaMarcus. And that's why I feel like they should have traded him last year because I feel like it was a market for him and they probably could get another piece at the end of the day that they can't get this year as he has declined. And that's why I believe that they should have probably blew it up and try to get a little bit more than they can get this year from both of those players. But other than that, when it comes to Lamarcus Aldridge, he still is interesting as a prospect and as a player at this point of his career, still being able to hit the fadeaway, still being able to hit the mid range, still being a guy that will come in and do exactly what you need him to do, and still have a lot left in the tank. You look at the numbers; they're not eye popping, they're not crazy, but you're not trading or getting Lamarcus Aldridge to be a superstar. You're not getting him to be an all-star at this point of his career. And anybody that wants him knows that. It's kind of like Blake Griffin. You don't look at Blake Griffin as the Blake Griffin 2 years ago or the Blake Griffin 3 years ago. You look at what he does and you look at what he can do for your team with the right talent around him, and you focus on that. So I still think he can be a big help as a player, just because he still do have enough left in the tank offensively to where he can still be a weapon for the right team, even if it's coming off the bench. That sounds kind of crazy when you look at the numbers, but a lot of teams don't really need a center or a power forward at this point, and Lamarcus can still punish other bigs and other lineups depending on who's with them. But not only that, the second lead, the second string players. When you bring it in your bench, Lamarcus Aldridge is still a starting caliber player when locked in and focused at this point in his career. He can really boost your bench a whole lot in that regard. So I still have respect for him. I still think he is an NBA player. He can be a starter on a worse team. He can be an impact player on a championship team. And at the end of the day, it is still good to have a big like Lamarcus that can really still do stuff offensively and create his own shot while also being unselfish and being a decent passer for high posts and in the pick and roll. So his IQ is there. Um, his loyalty has been there throughout his whole career. Um, and at the same time, that jump shot still go in, and that's important in today's game. So I'm surprised that this didn't happen last year. I'm surprised that it took to the middle of the season for them to decide to go in this direction. But to me, for both sides, it makes sense, and it probably made even more sense last year. But Lamarcus, his career is really going to be determined what he does and what role he has going forward through this season, because he's declining. He is, and how the game is played and how the game is now is either he's going to have to adapt a little bit more, or he's going to have to accept a significantly lesser role, and that's going to determine if he stays in the league 2, 3, 4 more years. And he never been a guy that was based off athleticism. He never been a guy that been based, off that through his career. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch, how his career goes. Will this be a guy that's going to do a bunch of 1 year deals? Will a team be interested in keeping him for 2 years? Or will he just be a journeyman for the next 3 to 4 years, just hopping on, being a seventh, eighth, ninth guy and trying to chase a title? I don't know what's in store for him. I don't know what he's going to be, but I do still think he can be an impact guy. This is a guy, if I'm a contender, I would definitely make a move to pick him up or open a roster spot for him, because you look at what he still brings to the game and you look at what he can still do, and you can add that to your team. Majority of the guys that are available right now are not at his level or even close. So you're looking at an upgrade on basically every roster that can be interested in him. And you can't really say that for a lot of guys out in free agency now. So this is huge. This is huge news that Lamarcus will try to free up some money or get traded to a team, and it changes the way we look at him future wise, and at the same time, it's just going to be interesting following his career the next 2 to 3 years and seeing what happens. Will he win a title? When he win multiple? Or will he be a six-man candidate? Or will he just play 1 or 2 years and be gone out the league because he either retired or he couldn't adapt or adjust, or, the market shrunk? Because we done seen some NBA veterans, they 34, 35, 36, and the NBA was over them, or the NBA gave up on them, or teams just didn't want to give them a shot because of their reputation, or they just didn't like their stubbornness. Wherever it is, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, this is a guy that I give the stamp of approval of pick him up. Pick him up. And if he gets bought out instead of traded, pick him up because this guy can be a difference maker on a lot of teams. And that's what you want if you're trying to win a title or increase your chances of doing it without giving that much in return. This is an upgrade on most rosters. Pick them up. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, also be in the description comment section below. Like on Facebook, like the video, subscribe, share. Check out my merchandise that'll be on my Facebook page, also on my spread shirt. And at the same time, if you're new to the channel, check out my older videos, like my older videos, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of y'all day. I'll be back to y'all with another video on Thursday, and we'll see where the Spurs go from here. Will they try to go all in on a retool? Will they go in on a rebuild? We'll see. Because this team is not going to be the worst team in the league by the end of the season because they have done so well so far. But at the same time, we're going to see how far they ride this wave the next 2 years as an organization. So to me, this is a wait and see for the Spurs also. Other than that, Quinn Wade, basketball analysis, I'm gone. Enjoy the rest of y'all day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.